The embarrassment and pain she caused my heart years ago has refused to go. I hope you all now understand how it feels. In the heart of the bustling city of Lagos, a swarm of people like ants in a disturbed anthill move about their daily routines. Horns honk, engine roll, and the air is thick with acrid smell of exhaust fumes. Amidst this chaos stood a lone figure, Ifeoma, her hands clasped behind her back, gazing at the sky with a wistful expression. Her eyes seemed to hold the secrets beyond her years. Ifeoma works as a seamstress, creating very beautiful garments that adorn the bodies of the high and mighty in the society. As she walked through the market to purchase some materials for her pending work, she weaved through the crowd, careful not to brush against anyone as she made her way to the fabric vendor's stall. Today, she was in search of the perfect cloth to sew a new dress for her customer's upcoming engagement party. She left the vendor's store as soon as she was done, walking through the market to make her way home when she caught the eye of a young man named Emeka. He was instantly smitten by her radiant smile and gentle demeanor. They walked the market together and exchanged phone numbers before saying their goodbyes. The two began to court each other, and their love was blossoming like a beautiful flower in spring. And as time passed, Emeka knew that Ifeoma was the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He proposed to her with a ring made of gold and diamonds, promising to cherish and protect her always. Ifeoma joyfully accepted his proposal, eager to start a new chapter in their lives together. The preparations for their wedding were grand and extravagant. The venue was adorned with flowers and lights. The guests were dressed in their finest attire, and everything seemed perfect for the union of Emeka and Ifeoma. It was fast approaching 10 o'clock in the morning when the church wedding will start, but there was no sight of Ifeoma. As Emeka stood at the altar waiting for his beloved bride to walk down the aisle, Ifeoma was still nowhere to be found. Panic started to set in as everyone searched high and low for her, but there was no trace, neither could anyone confirm her whereabouts. It was later revealed that Ifeoma had discovered a dark secret about Emeka's village tradition on the morning of the wedding. Horrified by this revelation, she decided not to show up for her own wedding. And so it was in the village of Gbagagbam that every man, whether young or old, is very, very rich. Parents from neighboring village usually encourage their daughters to marry from this village, so as not to only live a comfortable life, but also take care of them. However, the only catch to their prosperity was a tradition that had existed since the year 200. The men of Gbagagbam who died were buried alongside their wives who were alive. If the wives were not alive, the first daughter of such man would be buried alive with their dead father. In a situation where the man was not married, 7 virgins would be buried alongside with him. Many say this has been the secret to their unending prosperity. But this sacred tradition has continued to live with the people till this day. Filled with fear and dread at the thought of such a fate awaiting her in the future, Ifeoma had fled in panic on what should have been their happiest day together. Heartbroken and filled with rage at being humiliated so publicly by a woman he loved so much, Emeka swore an oath upon a sacred calabash that Ifeoma would know no peace for causing him such pain. Ifeoma later reached out to a few mutual friends and told them all about the sacred tradition, which led to her not showing up. They understood her stance. However, the deed has already been done. They approached Emeka, explaining all Ifeoma had told them. They blamed him for not making her aware of the tradition at first. Love conquers all. My tradition shouldn't matter, or should it? He said to Ebere, who was among the friends who came to him. After a long deliberation, he saw reasons with their explanations and agreed to forgive and forget. He eventually made peace with Ifeoma and they went about their different lives. Ifeoma was happy she dodged the bullet, and it didn't take her long to forget all about the failed wedding and forge ahead with her life. However, one of her customers, Auntie Kim, had spoken so highly of this cousin abroad and would like Ifeoma to be his wife if she agreed. She was willing to try again. So she met Jidenna, who swept her off her feet with the promise of everlasting love and happiness. They decided to make it a forever deal. Ifeoma also told him all that had happened previously with the first man. Jidenna didn't see anything wrong with that, so he proceeded to marry her. This time, he followed all traditions carefully to avoid any mishaps like before. The traditional wedding took place in Ifeoma's village amidst joyous celebration and dancing under the bright African sun. The city of Lagos was abuzz with excitement as the day of Jidenna and Ifeoma's white wedding finally arrived. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of gold and pink as the people of the city gathered around the venue. Colorful fabrics and traditional attire adorned the crowd as they eagerly awaited the ceremony to begin. The air was filled with sounds of laughter, music, and the clanging of metal drums, creating a festive atmosphere that seemed to dance through the city like a wildfire. Finally, the moment everyone has been waiting for is here, as the couples are about to enter into the hall. As they danced into the reception hall as husband and wife, something changed within Ifeoma's eyes. It was as if her eyes were spinning in circles and she just couldn't place it. A look of madness overtook her features as she screamed out in terror and confusion before collapsing to the ground in convulsion. The guests were all confused and didn't understand what had just happened. Some thought it was the stress from the wedding preparation, but it didn't look like it when they tried to make her stable but couldn't. It was at this point that guests gasped in horror as they realized that poor Ifeoma had indeed gone mad on what should have been her happiest day yet again. And so it came to pass that Emeka's curse had stuck through once more, ensuring that she would never find peace or happiness after breaking his heart so callously years ago. What no one knew about Emeka was that when he spoke in tears or despair, his words held power beyond imagination. Jidenna the groom stood by Ifeoma's side, his face a mask of disbelief and fear as some of the guests struggled to calm her down. He had always known about Emeka and the curse, but he had hoped that he could find a way around it. As he watched his bride convulse on the ground, he felt a deep sense of loss and despair wash over him. The guests, who had only moments ago been celebrating, now formed a circle around Ifeoma, their expression a mix of shock, sadness, and confusion. Some whispered amongst themselves, sharing stories of other curses they have heard of, while others tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, continuing to dance and drink as if nothing had happened. But it was clear that something had changed, as the energy in the room had shifted, becoming more subdued and somber. Even the music seemed to reflect the mood, growing slower and more melancholic. Jidenna remained by Ifeoma's side, his eyes never leaving her face as he struggled to comprehend what was happening. Her convulsions grew more violent, her screams piercing the air. It was just at this point that Emeka, the one who had cast the curse all these years ago, stepped forward. His presence seemed to command the attention of everyone in the room. The embarrassment and pain she caused my heart years ago has refused to go. I hope you all now understand how it feels, he said as he stepped forward. Everyone was shocked and confused. Jidenna looked up at him, his eyes filled with anger and despair. You did this, he said, his voice shaking. You caused her. Chinedu smiled sadly. I'm sorry, my friend. I wanted her to know how it feels to lose someone she loves, to have her heart broken. I never wished for this. His voice trailed off as he gestured around the chaos in the room. Jidenna looked at Emeka, feeling a mixture of anger, pity, and understanding. He knew that Emeka had been hurt badly by Ifeoma, but he also knew that what happened tonight wasn't the answer. I understand how you feel, he said, but this isn't the way. Emeka shook his head. I never meant for this to happen. I only wanted her to feel a fraction of what I felt. I never wanted her to be hurt like this. His eyes filled with tears as he looked down at Ifeoma, her body still convulsing on the ground. I can undo this, he said. The only condition will be that she will marry me afterwards. There was silence in the room. Even Ifeoma seemed to stop convulsing for a moment. Jidenna looked at Emeka, his expression conflicted. He knew that Emeka loved Ifeoma, but he also knew that she had never truly loved him back. He hesitated for a moment, considering his options. Finally, he spoke up. I can't let you do this, Emeka. Ifeoma has suffered enough. Why don't you just undo what you did and let her be instead? With these words from Jidenna, Emeka turned and was about to leave the room when Jidenna ran after him. The act of forgiveness is a great gift from God. If you don't forgive and forget totally, you are also being in bondage. This brings chapter 1 of this story to an end. Will Jidenna give up his love for Ifeoma and allow Emeka undo the curse and marry her afterwards? Or will Ifeoma continue to live her modest life and remain unmarried all the rest of her life? Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and leave your thoughts in the comment section.